or if you need time, just go ahead and grab paper and pencil. Go ahead and do that. All right. We'll start in 2 minutes. Also, grab something like small to either eat or drink, and we'll come back and start everything in 90 seconds. All right. Thanks. You guys have your clipboards. Grace, this is yours. You won't need it for the exercise. And Jackson, you can actually put yours down during the exercise. That'd be fine. All right, hopefully we've got most people joining us back again. Paper and pencil would be helpful, and then something small to eat and don't eat it yet, or something to drink and don't drink it yet, okay? And so welcome to our sixth episode here of Student Skills for Surviving and Thriving during COVID-19 and beyond, all right? And so as we do first with almost all of our lessons that we teach, we're going to do mindfulness. And before we do that, I'm going to introduce my crew here, all right? We'll start with you, Jackson.
My name is Jackson. I'm 13 and I'm in 7th grade.
My name is Grace. I'm 8 and I'm in 2nd grade.
My name is Ashton. I'm 12 and I'm in 6th grade.
And congratulations, you had a birthday yesterday, so nice that you're now 12. All right, good work. All right, so what we're going to do is an observe and describe exercise, okay? And we're first going to observe. So whatever you have in your hand, a drink or a small piece of food, let's go ahead and do that. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Don't eat it yet, all right? So we have here two things that were in our house here. So I have a slice of an orange, and I have a frosted mini wheat here, all right? And so we're going to take our choice of what we want. You want the mini wheat. You're having the orange. I'll take the orange slice, and Grace, you're doing the mini wheat, all right? Mm-hmm. That's right, take that. Let's get into our mindfulness position. And before you do anything with it, thank you, Jackson, keep in mind that we often use our sight to take in information, right? And to observe things. Well, today we're going to actually use all of our senses. We're not only going to use our sight, we're going to use our smell, that's right.
We're going to use our taste.
We're going to use our hearing, too, because some things might crunch, right? We're going to use our taste, great, Grace. And we might use our feel as well, right? And so we have all of our senses to give us information, all right? And often we go through life mindlessly eating very quickly, right? So we can't even remember sometimes the things that we eat. So today we're going to mindfully eat our piece of fruit, your mini wheat, your treat in your hand, or we're going to mindfully drink the drink that you have, all right?
Coffee.
So when the exercise begins, and it's not beginning yet, I want you to take a look at your treat. I want you to take a look at your cup or look at your drink, right? I want you to smell it first, all right? If you decide to put it in your mouth, that's fine, all right? Let it sit there. Don't chew right away. Let it sit on your tongue, all right? As you chew, not yet. As you chew it,
You just let
I'm giving you directions. We haven't started.
No.
As you chew it, notice the juices that are flowing. Don't swallow right away, okay? Until you need to swallow, all right? Because I don't want things dripping all off you at this point. We haven't started yet, all right? Jackson seems like he's very hungry. I thought maybe you got breakfast already. Maybe not. All right. So any questions about what we're doing with this exercise? Mindfully eating or drinking what we have. We haven't started. And remember, you're going to look at it first. You two boys are starving. All right? Any questions, Grace?
No.
So let's get in our mindfulness position. Feet flat on the floor, right? Back straight up. Grace, feet flat on the floor.
My feet don't go on the floor.
Come on, yes you can. Scoot up on the couch. Scooch.
My feet don't go on the floor.
Good, right there. All right? Remember, we're not going to put it in our mouth right away. All right. Let's... 2, we're taking a deep breath. And 3, we're going to begin by looking, observing, mindfully eating our piece of fruit, mini wheat, drink, or treat. Okay, and stop. All right. How did that go for you guys at home? All right, we're stopping at this point. Now, with all of our mindfulness exercises, we observed, right? That's our wordless watching. Now we're going to describe. And what do we use to describe our wordless watching? We use
Descriptions.
descriptions, yes.
That's using your words.
Yes, and what else?
Oh wait,
Body movements.
Well, but you're taking the information that your senses give,
your
right?
breath.
We describe using facts, things that we can observe from our senses, right? So what did you observe about eating? You and I had an orange, and you two had mini wheats. What did you observe?
It was
Describe.
like
After eating it for chewing it for a long time, it started getting soggy.
Got
and it,
soggy,
stuck
so
to my
that's
teeth.
stuck to your teeth. So that's good. That's a fact, right? Got stuck to your teeth. Grace, any?
when it was in my mouth and I actually finally did it. It became like little hard strings.
Hard strings, yeah, because you had mini wheats.
Yeah.
Did
they're
either one of you notice before you ate it about the two different sides?
Yeah, they were so different.
Well, so describe that.
Because one side was basically just white, and then the other side was brown.
And the white side, it was what's called what?
Frosted.
Frosted, right. So that was the sweet side, the other side not. Could you tell that on your tongue?
Yup.
All right. And then, Jackson, what did you notice about your orange? What did you
Easy to
describe?
chew.
Easy to chew. Did you notice anything before you put it in your mouth?
It was I knew it was a crescent shape.
Crescent shape. Was there a seed in your orange?
Nope.
Did you notice that before you put it in your mouth?
Nope.
Nope. So you were just.
I probably would have.
You probably would have, right. So there wasn't one in mine, and I noticed that there wasn't one there either. All right? Any other things that you observed when you were chewing? What did you observe?
Well, something when I smelled
No,
it.
this direction.
Oh.
Come here. Yep. When you smelled it, what?
When I smelled it, it didn't smell frosted at all.
It didn't smell
It
frosted. Yeah,
smelled really weird.
It smelled weird?
Bland.
Can you describe what weird is?
No.
Yes.
It's snow. I can't. If you smell that, it's so hard.
So
Yeah,
it's just
it's
it's,
really hard
it's a
to
smell that's odd, right?
It's an odd
Was it
smell.
were you salivating because of the smell? You're like, what is that smell?
It smelled pretty bad.
All right. Bad's a judgment. All right. Jackson, anything about chewing on the orange?
No.
Did you have any problem keeping the orange juice or the juices from the orange in your mouth? Or did it swallow right away?
Nope.
Nope. I noticed that I couldn't keep the juice from the orange in my mouth. It just kind of like naturally went down. I was like, wow. I didn't think I was trying to swallow. All right.
When I eat oranges.
So why do we practice mindfulness exercises?
Because it's good for us.
Yes, but why? Good's a judgment. Why are we doing that?
Because
It's the main point of our series, Mindfulness.
And so why? Correct. It is one of the main.
Wise
Wait.
Well, it does help us get into wise mind and
It helps us make things better.
make things better, mean more effective. In what way?
You notice what you're doing and then think of the consequences.
Beautiful. You notice what you're doing. We're putting our mind where we want it to be, not our mind putting us in a place where we don't want it to be. All right? That good? All right. Hopefully that exercise for you went well at home as well. And again, it doesn't have to be any type of treat or anything else. Use some of the things that you already have at home. The other thing that's interesting about mindfully eating is you actually eat less of the food and you enjoy it more. I know, I can tell you for sure, Ashton and Jackson never take that long to eat a single mini wheat or a single slice of orange. It usually goes down very quickly. So that was probably even, you had to notice that. Yeah.
I eat half. I eat the not frosted half of the mini wheat first, and then I take just the frosted part and take it in my mouth.
Yes, but you don't take 2 minutes to eat one piece of frosted mini wheats. You're usually done with half the bowl by then. So,
Maybe.
all right, maybe. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Liz, who's actually going to teach the PLEASE skills today.
Good morning, friends. Good morning, guys. I'm Liz Dexter-Mazza, the other part of this Mazza crew here that is with all of you. And so we are going to teach this morning. I know I sent out a little Facebook post this morning that said we were going to teach on mindfulness today, but as things seem to ever be changing during COVID-19 day to day, so is the topic of what we're going to teach today. Instead, we're going to teach one of our emotion regulation skills called the PLEASE skills today, and then we're going to teach come back to mindfulness next Tuesday in our next lesson. And at the end of today's class, hopefully you'll stick with us. We're going to make an announcement about how we're going to switch things up a little bit starting next week that I think we're all going to be pretty excited about, and will actually increase your ability and other people's ability to join us on these Tuesday and Thursday mornings. So to start this morning, I want to do a little bit of a recap for those of you who were with us, or even if you weren't with us on Tuesday with what we're teaching today. So we're going to go back. If anybody was here on Tuesday, we taught about, do you guys remember what we taught on Tuesday? Can you remember? Emotions. Do you remember what
Regulation.
it was? We were on emotion regulation, and we talked about what about an emotion?
The different parts of an emotion.
That's right, all the different parts of an emotion. Exactly. We taught the model of emotions.
Why do we have emotions?
And why we have emotions. Exactly. What do you remember the reasons why we have emotions? What do they do for us?
So they give us information.
They give us information, so they communicate information to us. Wait, what'd you say, Ashton?
Grace is on top.
Grace is on top of it today. Okay, well, that's one of the 3 things that emotions do. What are the other 2 things emotions do?
They make us feel.
Right, we feel them, right? So that's one thing. They give us information. They give information to other people, right? Remember we talked about that scene from Inside Out when Riley was really sad, and that communicated to other people?
They needed to.
And then they kind of moved in and helped responded to her and gave her some support and love, right? So it communicates information to ourselves. It communicates information to other people. And Jackson, can you remember the 3rd thing it does?
It gives us facts.
It doesn't give us facts, right? Right, when you are scared, or what do you...
It does something to our actions.
That's right.
Phobias.
That's right. It motivates us into action. So when you're angry, what's your action that you get angry? What does it tend to get you to
Stomp.
do? To stomp, right? To maybe attack the ground or yell at somebody.
Yeah.
Or if you want something and somebody says, no, you can't have it, like it motivates you and to start figuring out how to problem solve to get the thing you want. Right, so that's why we have emotions and we can't get rid of them, right? Because they provide us with information, they help communicate information to other people, and they motivate us into action. That was a great job. Great remembering from the other day, guys. And so we talked about that, and then we also talked about the model of emotions. And so, Jim, if you could switch back to the model of emotions for us really fast. We talked about that these are all the different components of an emotion. We've got, the vulnerability factors, the prompting events, the different thoughts we have that fuel our emotions, what happens inside our body, all the physical sensations we have from like our stomach getting really tight, or our heart racing, or our shoulders getting tense, or our body, just all those things that happen inside of us, or even just like when we get like really light and feeling bouncy because we're excited, that happens too. Right, and then there's the behaviors that we do, right? We have the urge to do a behavior, and then we actually do the behavior, right? So lots of different parts of it. So today, we're going to hone in on just one of those parts, and we're going to talk about the vulnerability factors that impact our emotions, all right? So that's what we're going to focus on today, and we're going to talk about and start with what we call our PLEASE skills. So these are skills that we can use to help reduce our vulnerability to emotions. What's another word for vulnerability?
High emotion.
Well, it's when the more vulnerable you are, the more high emotion.
Sensitive.
Sensitive, right. It's like our emotion sensitivity. Like sometimes we're a little bit more sensitive than at other times. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we can do to take care of our physical bodies to decrease that sensitivity or vulnerability that we have. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. So you guys each have a copy of the handout 20.2, that we're going to go through, and you have a couple different handouts on there as well. For all of you at home, we're going to walk through these with you so you can write them down, and we'll bounce back and forth again with our PowerPoint slide where we're going to put our comments in on there and coming through. But I want you to be thinking about these, and I want you writing them down at home also so you have these. All right, so here's the first thing I want to talk about, vulnerability factors, right? So we know that there are things that make us more sensitive. Can you think of an example of when maybe something happened to you and you just seemed more sensitive or more emotionally reactive than you typically are?
Chipping my tooth.
So like the day you chipped your tooth. Do you think you, like, if you had chipped your tooth on any other day, do you think you would have been less emotionally reactive?
Only this much.
Maybe a little bit, right? Because that was a big thing that happened. But that may be something.
Yeah, also because it was at a party, so.
Mm-hmm. Do you think about, maybe, I'm thinking of, like, some of the times when we have, like, been out doing something and
Then it's time to go.
it's time to go, or I can think of a time, like, we were at the mall once and we were waiting for our table to be ready at a restaurant, and it was like an hour and a half wait because we were, like, going to one of our favorite restaurants, and we were really hungry, and there was a store you wanted to go to and we didn't have time to go there.
But it was an hour and a half late.
I know. No, but we had, because we chose to do other things. So put your board down a little so make sure everybody can hear you. Do you remember that time?
Nope.
No. Remember we were at the mall and there was, like, the Microsoft store and the Apple store?
Oh, yeah, that.
Right? And what happened to your emotions that day?
Super high.
They got super, super high. And do you normally get super, super high emotions when we run out of time and you can't go to a store or do something you want to do?
No.
Not really.
Wait.
Like where you're, like, stomping and yelling and, like, trying to get to the store.
Or, never mind.
Yeah, so that sometimes happens. Can you think of an example at home where, like, maybe sometimes your emotions are bigger than you expected them to be, or somebody in your family has emotions that are bigger than you expected to be, and you're like, they're really irritable today, or they're really just off today. Like, or why are they yelling at me when I do this all the time? Does that happen in our house sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
Does that happen to, like, every one of us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today, are different examples of when our emotions can get high and what are the things we can do to bring that vulnerability down. I want you to kind of think about these skills, these please skills, as, like, vitamins for your emotional wellness. You know how you take vitamins every day, or almost every day when we remember, right?
Almost
we
every
wait,
day.
Why do we take vitamins?
Because they help us.
They kind of,
Vitamins.
because they keep our body healthy and they give us the nutrients to kind of help us
Yeah.
potentially not get sick, right? So, like, they help
also
boost our
give us,
immune
like,
systems.
They also, like, give us strength for today, kind of.
Right, they give us some strength. So I want you to think of these
So we're not
please skills as vitamins for our emotional wellness, okay? To decrease our sensitivity, right? And so if they're vitamins, how often are we supposed to take vitamins?
Every day.
Every day. So do you think these are skills we should probably do every day?
Yeah.
That's right. So I want you to think about these. Skills we're going to do every day. So here's the first one. The P in please is for
Physical.
physical
PL.
illness, right? And what you have on your paper is going to be a little bit different than what I'm going to talk about here, and I'll explain why in a minute. But the P here is for physical illness. So what do you think that means? Treat physical illness.
Treat people when sick.
When you're sick, because what happens to you when you're sick?
You don't feel good.
You don't feel good, right?
I don't feel too good.
You don't feel good. And do you think you are able to manage your emotions as effectively
No.
when you're
no,
sick?
No.
No, what happens to your emotions when you're sick sometimes?
They get higher
They go
because,
super
like,
down.
you know, like,
Talk louder so they can hear you.
I can't, like, do all this stuff, and then it's just, like, you're, like, kind of annoyed or mad that you can't do
Mm-hmm.
some of these things, and then it just gets worse by, like,
Right, like you maybe don't have, like, the physical body strength to regulate those emotions, so they just get more intense faster, right? Or those urges go up. Like sometimes you, like, snap at somebody a little bit more often than you typically would, right? Do you notice that at home? Do you ever feel like when you're sick, either you have a cold or a virus, that you just don't have as much of the emotional strength to manage everything that's going on around you? Do you ever see that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, like thinking about now, like with people, maybe some folks with COVID-19, if they're sick, they don't have the physical and emotional strength to manage everything, right? So that's kind of going up and down a little bit. Okay. So that's what. Yes.
So someone from our audience talked about the fact that their emotions are stronger when they're hangry or sleepy. And so yeah, that's one of our topics.
Absolutely. We're going to get to those very soon because that is so common for folks.
Thanks for sending things into us,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yep, we'll talk about that one too, Grace. So that's really big. So when you are sick, this is why we say a lot of times it's important that you take care of your body. Have you ever like felt down during the week and you know there's like a big game coming up on Saturday or maybe a birthday party for a friend coming up and you really want to go? And you push yourself, even though you weren't feeling well, you push yourself to go? Does it always work out so great?
No. Like, you feel good for, like, that one time, and then, like, when you get back, you just feel a lot worse.
You might feel a lot worse. Or maybe, like, when not everybody's playing or doing the thing you want to do you maybe sometimes have a bigger emotional reaction than you would typically? Maybe you're more go with the flow usually?
Especially since we're...
When you're not feeling well, when you just don't have that full energy. Stop. Let's not tap because I don't want everybody to hear you tapping. Thank you. Notice the urge and just change that. Awesome. So that can sometimes help, right? Is that knowing when you really want to do something and you're not fully well, that can make things harder. You know, that's sometimes like we always have to find a balance when we're not feeling well. Do we go to school or do we stay home? Do we go to work or do we stay home? Right? And that's something that we have to balance a lot. All right, so here's the next one we're going to talk about, which you guys don't have on your papers. And for any of you who are familiar with the DBT and DBT STEPS-A skills, you'll probably know that the L in the PLEASE skills often gets combined with physical illness. And here's the thing, we have changed that up a little because we have learned that there's one thing that starts with an L that can really impact our emotion vulnerability. Any thoughts on what that might be?
Screen time.
That's right. We want to limit screen time. Absolutely. Why do you think we want to limit screen time to decrease our emotion vulnerability?
Because it makes you, like, upset when you can't play it.
So when you can't play it?
When you have to get off, either it's firing your brain while you're playing, or when you have to get off, you just get really mad and say, "No, I'm gonna stay."
Right, so there's that impact of when you get off, like being on it for too long can make you more irritable. Why do you think that is? I know you guys have seen the movie Screenager's Next Chapter. Can you remember why from that film, when we learned about the brain, why that happens?
They were made to, like, make you addicted.
So the games are made to make you addictive.
Yeah, and when one of the people got a phone, she like got addicted to it, cause she had a flip phone before, and then she actually got an iPhone, and so she was really happy, and then she got really sad because she was on it for too long.
Yep. So that's another piece. Kind of when she's on her phone for a long time, that makes us sad. All right, Jackson, do you remember what happens to our brains when we're on screens?
You get dumber.
You get dumber. Well, that's exactly what happened in the video, right? What they learned from being on screens for too long, and by screens here I'm talking specifically about like social media and video games, really specifically, is that the scrolling and the capacity and the amount of effort it takes from your brain, it tires your brain. And you're right, Jackson, when they did those kind of little studies where they had people take a test before they were on screens, and they had to take a similar test with different questions but the same concepts after screens, how well they did went way down, right? So that's why you're thinking they got dumber, because their brains just weren't able to process as effectively and figure out solutions after being on screens, because the games really tire our brains, right? And if our brains are tired, are we able to regulate as effectively, manage our emotions as effectively?
No.
Right, so limiting screen times can be really important. What do you think the right amount of screen time is?
Like, maybe, like, don't do, like, a really long, like, 2 hour span and then just be done. Maybe, like, half an hour, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
half an hour rest.
If you're gonna do, like, a 2 hour max thing, maybe, like, half an hour, then, like, wait another hour, then, like, half an hour if you go, like, on that type of schedule.
Right, so it's not that you can't do any screen times, but to find, like, a moderate amount and to regulate it, maybe split it up, not have these long marathons periods of time.
Like school.
Right, maybe, right? Not like school, like when you're right now on line for school, you're on there for like 6 hours a day.
Can I
Right.
blow my nose?
Yes, you can go blow your nose. Thank you for asking. And then is there different types of screens, right? Are all screens bad? No. I actually don't think...
TV's fine.
Right. Well, it's in moderation again, right? So TV is fine, like maybe watching a movie or a show. But if you binge watch shows for like 6 hours, is that probably too much?
No.
But maybe
probably.
Maybe if you watch 1, 2, or 3 episodes, maybe that's... But maybe not if you started watching them at 11 o'clock at night, right? So we want to limit our screen time, especially when we know for ourselves how that impacts our own emotional wellness. Okay, so let's talk about the next one is E, okay? And what does the E stand for, guys?
Eating.
All right, balanced eating, right? That's what we want to think about here, balanced eating. So what do you think that means?
Eat mindfully.
To eat mindfully, right? And is it
not overeat?
Right, and not overeat, right? And there's another handout that I have there for you guys. The next one after this, which is about emotion regulation and understanding your food and your mood.
Wait, 20.3 or 4?
20.3. Okay? And what I want you to think about when you look at this one is, it's not that all foods are good for us, and it's not that all foods are bad for us, right? But do different foods impact our emotions?
Yes.
Okay, so what kind of different foods impact our emotions? What do you think? What do you think, Jackson? Are there how do different foods impact us?
More of junk food impact us negatively.
Right.
Like if I have too much Doritos, I don't feel so good.
Right, and then when you don't feel good, that's back to physical illness, right? That can really impact when you eat too much of sugary foods or high caffeine foods.
Or stuff that I'm allergic to.
Or things that you're allergic to, right?
So from our audience again, so just because of that little bit of delay, about the limited screen time, we're stuck at home for COVID-19. How do we balance the screen time? Because we are stuck at home, they are interacting through
Especially
screens.
online
So what do we
school.
do with that? I thought it was a great question, and maybe you could address that.
Yeah, so that is, right, this is such unprecedented times that we are home, and the way that we can actually connect with other people, just like we're connecting with you guys at home, is through a screen, right? And that's where I think this piece around moderation is so important. And different types of screen activity. It's one type of screen to be watching us and interacting here in a class. It's another type of screen to be playing high action video games. And then it's another kind of interaction to be, surfing the web or doing social media. And so you might want to make sure that you are changing that up, taking breaks around that during the day, not being out, have some activities where you're physically getting outside. Right? So that, I think, is a really important conversation for families to have, because also families have different values and different limits and expectations about what they can do. How do we balance out how much screen time we're going to have with how much outdoor physical activity we're going to have? So that's the piece that gets really important on that. So to really take an assessment and maybe do some tracking, either using your phone that has the screen time tracker, or just some, with your own chart, tracking how much time are we spending on screens and how is it impacting my emotional wellness while I'm on it and when I get off of them. Those are the things I want you to think about on that. All right, so Ashton, while you were gone, we were talking about how food can impact our emotions and the importance of balanced eating, right? So thinking about eating, Grace, you started talking about this earlier. What happens when you don't eat enough or often enough?
I get really, really grumpy.
You get really, really grumpy.
And I get hangry.
And sometimes you get hangry, right?
Furious.
Yes, or furious. That's our hungry and furious, right? And I sometimes say you guys get really hiney, right?
Whiny.
And what does hiney mean?
Hungry, whiny.
Hungry and whiny. Some parents at home may be recognizing that experience too, right? That when we don't fuel our bodies with enough nutrition, that makes it really hard for us to have that emotional wellness, that strength to be able to manage our emotions. I know that happens for me. I used to tell your dad things all the time, hey, I'm going to be hungry in an hour. So that was dad's cue, oh, I got to find mom food. or she's going to start yelling at all of us soon. Right? And one of the reasons I'm able to say I'm going to be hungry in an hour is because I use my mindfulness skills to start noticing when my body is starting to get irritable. That's right. So it's important that you eat. And then, like I was saying earlier, we also have to eat balanced, healthy foods, right? So if we're hungry and we just go get a bunch of cheese and crackers, or a bunch of chips, or a bunch of Sour Patch, or a bunch of just chocolate chips, which I know some kids who like just to go get chocolate chips out of the cupboards, right? Is that going to fuel our body?
With sugar.
With sugar, right? And then what happens if we have too much sugar?
You crash.
You kind of go up and you got a lot of energy, and then you crash, and then you're more irritable. So we want to also make sure we're eating some positive foods like protein, enough dairy, carbohydrates, things like that, and really balancing it. Right? So maybe do some tracking of what food you're eating to kind of walk through and balance all of this. Does that make sense? Okay? And I know this is especially hard right now, being COVID-19, and we're just home next to our kitchen all the time. I walk through my kitchen and I have the urge to grab something to snack, and I got to be really mindful of how much this is helping me. Or sometimes being home, I forget to eat because I'm just working and trying to manage all these different things. So it could go either way on that. So we got to think about that. Any comments from folks at home about this?
They continue to say that yes, that happens to me too. Yep, you got to change it up. What about pretzels?
Pretzels.
A specific food.
Yes, pretzels can be really helpful to eat. You know, if you've got a snack, again, it comes back to moderation and only eating enough to hold you over a little bit till you get to your next meal. But if you eat too many pretzels, right, that's too many carbohydrates, again, it could potentially bring you up and then bring that crash down.
Yeah, like if I'm like maybe like 45 minutes away from like dinner or something, like I'm not gonna have like 18 chips and crackers.
Right.
I mean, cheese and crackers. I'd have like maybe like a yogurt or something small to just hold me over to them.
Right. And then you also have to watch that you don't eat like too much sweets before dinner also, like hours before sleep, like and after dessert.
Yeah.
Right, so that's another one.
Stay up.
Okay, so that's what we're going to come to. This next one. Oh, let me bring my black marker out. Is an A. Somebody tell me what the A stands for.
Avoiding mood-altering drugs.
Avoid mood-altering drugs. And this can have lots of different things. And so, you know, another way I like to think about this that one of our parent viewers made up in a poster for us is kind of the idea of avoiding overindulgence. What does overindulgence mean, Jackson?
Having too much of one thing?
Having too much of one thing, right? We're always talking about finding a balance and middle path and moderation, right? So avoiding mood-altering drugs and overindulgence. So what does that mean when we were talking about with kids and teenagers? What are we talking about with avoiding mood-altering drugs?
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, right? Right, well, you might get asked,
like
medicine, but you might get asked sometime to like maybe have alcohol, right? And alcohol impacts our emotions because it kind of brings it kind of makes us a little bit calmer sometimes, or it makes us really excited. And the big thing, what it does is it's like decreases our ability to regulate as effectively. So we may have quicker and faster big emotional reactions after alcohol. So this is the same for adults and parents and kids, anybody, right? So we have to just be aware of how alcohol might impact us. Now, I hope that's not something you guys aren't thinking about yet.
Nope.
Is that why there's sometimes brawls at bars?
Yes. That may be why there's a lot of fights at bars sometimes, exactly. All right. But here, what are some other kind of mood-altering drugs or substances that you might have access to, that you might use?
Video
Pot.
games.
What?
Pot
is something, right? Where we live in Seattle, so that's something you might get offered. I was actually thinking of caffeine. Do you think of caffeine as a mood-altering drug?
Nope.
I wouldn't think of it as a drug, but...
But it's a mood-altering substance, right?
I don't really think it's
so is video
mood-altering. I
games.
just
So is video
don't
games.
think it lets you grow.
It can impact your growth, right? But when you have caffeine, that's definitely something that can impact your mood, right? If you drink too much caffeine, it can get you all amped up and jittery, right? And then when you crash, you have that irritability. Or, Ashton, can you remember what happened to me this morning? Like, I woke up this morning, and all morning I had this really bad headache. And you remember me talking about? And then I figured out like
whenever you have like
didn't have
caffeinated coffee, you get like super duper 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 bad headaches.
right. Well, when I start drinking caffeine again, and then I realized this morning at like 8:30 I had a bad headache, and then it dawned on me like, oh, I didn't have any coffee this morning, and then I had my coffee, and my headache went away. So actually, those withdrawals is kind of that headache is a withdrawal symptom of caffeine, and when I don't have it, I have a headache, and when I have a headache, that makes me more irritable, right? And you can see how this cycle goes on and on and on again, right? So we want to avoid those. Okay, let me move along here. So our S, what's the S on there for?
Sleep.
Balanced sleep. How are you guys doing with sleep during COVID-19 here?
Not the best.
Not the best? Why not?
Well, we're staying
I
up
have
late every night.
Like, we stay up late, watch
Right.
TV.
We're staying up late because we're doing a new thing where we are trying to watch a TV
like
show together, which we've never
binge-watching.
done.
We're like binge watching TV shows every
That
day.
that was the first couple of days, Grace.
Mhm.
We binge watched
No.
3 seasons.
Yeah, we did.
We didn't do it in 3 days. We did it over a week, right? But that's a good example, right, of then how much more tired it made us the next day and irritable the next day, right? Or watching TV shows. So we've got to get balanced sleep, which means maintaining not getting too little sleep, but also not getting too much. Right, Jackson, are there some days now that you're becoming a teenager, and Ashton, you're getting there also, where you want to sleep really, really late? Yeah.
I stay up really late.
You stay up late, you kind of maybe sometimes try to sneak reading, and then you stay up late, and then what happens to you in the morning when you don't get enough sleep?
I want to stay in bed.
You want to stay in bed,
He never gets up.
and then we try to get you up and do things.
Well, Ashton, that's because you always pounce on me.
Right. So Jackson, listen here. So when you sleep, you go to bed really late, and we try to get you up in the morning, we want to do anything. How's your mood? Right. And are you like, let's go do this, and what do you say?
No.
Eh.
No, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to do that. I'm not interested. You leave me alone, right? And so you can get me more irritable.
I don't do that.
Yeah,
Yes, you
sometimes you
do.
do. Right? What about you guys at home? Do you notice, especially during COVID-19, that maybe you're staying up later, sleeping later in the morning, and that maybe it's impacting some of your emotions? Do you have that? Right? And so that's a big piece where we have to know what is the right amount of sleep for our bodies, right? And then for different ages, like for Grace, we know her body needs to have more hours of sleep than you guys. That's why her bedtime's an hour before yours, right? And as you're getting older, that's shifting. And what Dad and I need is different from the hours of sleep than sometimes for you guys. But in general, we want to think about 8 hours average sleep for adults and young adults. And then we're thinking more on the 10 to 12 hours for younger kids. You know, for Grace to you guys, we're trying to get you guys about 10 hours sleep a night. Okay, so that's that balanced sleep that we're looking for. All right, and then we have the last one, which is the E. What's the last E?
Emotions.
Yep.
Exercise.
Exercise.
Oh, I thought it'd be emotions.
Mm-hmm. Well, these are all things to help decrease our sensitivity to emotions. So balanced exercise, what does that mean?
Don't
Like,
exercise
make
too much,
sure-
but you gotta exercise.
Make sure you're getting out every day to just get some like physical activity and movement, not just like staying inside.
Yep, going outside, playing basketball, getting outside every day. That's exactly right. Ashton, would you be open to telling us about what the 15 minutes right before we started live stream were like today for you this morning?
I really just wanted to not do it.
You didn't want to do anything. You were just kind of sitting here like a lump, and you didn't you were irritable. And what did we make you go do?
Play basketball
Play
for
what?
5 minutes.
Just to get outside and get your body physically active at least for 5 minutes, because we know when your body's more physically active, it helps to bring down your irritability and your emotion dysregulation, right? Right? Does that happen for other people at home? Like when you're not active, that impacts your emotion vulnerability and sensitivity. So that's why it's really important that, especially now during COVID-19, when you're at home, that you're still moving your body for at least 20 to 30 minutes every day. And if you're someplace where you can go outside into a neighborhood and not be around other people, maybe wearing a mask, then just try to go do that. Going for a walk for 20 to 30 minutes every day, or just going around your block. And for some of us, I know we actually can't leave our houses because maybe we live in apartments or in cities. And I want you to figure out how you can do some physical activity at home still every day. Maybe get on YouTube and look up some exercise videos, or I know there's like soccer drills that you can do or workouts. So trying to do some of that every day, even if it's in your own home, we can still keep getting our physical activity. We don't always have to leave our house to be physically active. So what are some of the kind of things you guys have been doing? You've been getting physical activity assignments from school, and we've been doing things every day. What are some of the things you're doing to stay physically active every day?
Basketball.
Workouts.
Basketball.
Basketball and
School
cornhole.
workouts.
So you're doing like video workouts for school on that. What'd you say, Grace?
Basketball and cornhole.
Basketball. We're playing cornhole a little bit in our backyard. We're going for walks. We're doing workout videos online, right, in our basement
I don't know who
when we
that.
can. Maybe not you two. We are. You're doing dance classes. Some. What are people at home doing? You have any ideas of what you're doing to get some physical activity every day?
Leave it in the comments below.
Or do we have any other comments, Jim?
Yeah, so a couple of comments. A couple people agreed that screen time is really hard. It alters the mood. We had one person say that my kid screams at the games that they're playing. That sound familiar?
Yes.
And hopping up and down. Okay. And so would that be associated with mood? And then would coding on Scratch alter your mood?
No.
Yeah. Ask
It
you. You
de-
guys do Scratch.
It depends
Exactly.
if you're. It always depends if you're like making a game,
Or if you're playing.
or if you're playing like one of those like really good games. Like if you're like making a game,
Like,
it's like I don't think it'd be that bad because like you're making it, and it's like it actually takes like a lot of thought process. Like does it move like this many sprites forward, or if you're playing like Geometry Dash or like Turricane, like one of those really high tech games that like are really hard to make. That's like really intense, and there's like a lot of things going on. Like yeah, if you play that for too long, it'll like it's not good for you. But if you're like making something, it's like as long as you're not trying to make like the same thing for like an hour, it's like okay.
I love that. Like that you're thinking about it, that this idea of it depends. This is where I really want to talk about how moderation becomes so important. I always think about to when I was in high school and one of my teachers wrote in my high school yearbook, moderation is the key to life, right? And that's so important because I think that's one of the foundations of DBT and DBT STEPS-A is that it's not about totally cutting things out and being all or nothing. It's about finding that middle path and finding moderation. That's why we talk about limiting screen time, not doing no screen time, having balanced eating, balanced sleep, and balanced exercise, because it's about how much. So Scratch for 20-30 minutes at a time, I don't think that's too much, unless you know that is too much for you personally. Maybe you do it for a little bit longer, but not doing it for 6 to 8 hours straight. Yes, Jim?
So one of our viewers put in a question here. These seem like all great ideas, except physical illness. Why is that on here?
Right? Because how many of you have a tendency to not take care of yourself when you're sick? That you keep pushing yourself, right? Or, sometimes I know for me as a parent, when I have to work and I'm sick, like I can't not go to work, especially for me where I'm seeing patients and I only see them 1 or 2 days a week. I can't change my whole schedule and always push myself. And sometimes I have to come back and say, like, is this actually effective for my job or for me to push myself when I'm sick? Or sometimes when you guys aren't feeling well, like maybe you've got a little bit of the sniffles or just kind of a cough that's been lingering, or you're tired, and I say you have to go to school anyway, right? Because I have to work, but then that actually can make things worse for you, right? So I think it's important for us to come back and really talk about with ourselves and our families about how do we pay attention, that recognize that when we are physically sick, that we have to take care of ourselves. Like I think your dad, like Jim, is really good that he knows that when I'm not feeling well, he's the one who forces me to go to sleep, right? Or go take a rest. So I can attend to my physical illness because he knows when I don't feel well, my emotions are more sensitive and I'm more irritable to everybody around the house, right? So I think that's why we want to also attend to physical illness. These are all things about our behaviors that we can do to change how sensitive we are to our emotions. hopefully that clarifies it for you.
And I think we had another person say, treat physical illness. Yes.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're trying
Treat
to do.
physical illness.
And then, so that you're not vulnerable to it. Maybe eating healthy so you're not vulnerable. If you are sick, that you take care of yourself. Right?
Yeah, so it's treat physical illness, limit your screen time, have balanced eating, avoiding mood-altering drugs, have balanced sleep, and have balanced eating. So there's little words in there, but I think that we can put as the precursor to all of these. But what I want you to remember are these please skills to take care of your body, manage your behaviors, to decrease your vulnerability to emotions. So here's one picture I want to show you that one of our parents and families shared with us a couple weeks ago after we taught this in our parenting live stream, that I want you all to do something like this at home, right? Make a sign for your house so that these can stay as a visual cue for you to be thinking about, especially during this time of COVID-19 when we were all home. That was a balloon. That was one of your birthday balloons just popped. Sorry about that. And so to make one of these signs at home for you, okay, so that you guys can have this as a cue to be thinking about every day, because I think as we're getting to the monotony of COVID-19, we might start forgetting about these. So let me give you a couple take-home points for today. Here's what we want you to do. Is one, practice mindfully eating something at a meal with your family today or in the next couple of days. Maybe just the first 3 bites, everybody just mindfully focuses on eating their food, noticing the taste, the texture, versus just sitting down and eating it all like this really fast. You ever go and get like a bag of M&Ms and you're like, oh, I want to have an M&M, and you just eat them all right away, and then you think afterwards like, oh, I didn't even enjoy those because I ate them so fast. So mindfully eat the first 3 bites of your meal tonight. Then remember that the please skills are like vitamins for our emotional wellness. And we want to be taking care of our emotional wellness always, and especially during this time of COVID-19. So practice reviewing what you will do for each please skill with your family. And then make a poster for your house. And then send us a picture of your poster because we want to see it and we want to be able to share it so other people can see what you're doing in your home. And then an exciting announcement that we have that starting next Tuesday, because of the great feedback we've been getting from all of you and from some of our other folks who are watching our parenting live stream on Instagram, is that we are going to move our live stream starting next Tuesday morning to YouTube Live. That way, folks who don't have a Facebook account can be watching us and joining us in there, and we will be able to still have comments just like we do on Facebook. We're going to use using the YouTube Live platform. So we'll be sending out announcements for that over the next few days so that you can find us there. So just remember that. If you need to take a screenshot of our take-home points, we'll leave that up for a couple moments here so you can take that, and then we'll put it back up at the end. But we'll send out announcements. We are so thankful that you joined us again today. We hope these please skills help to decrease your emotional sensitivity and help you increase your emotional wellness over this next weekend. Have a great weekend, and we will see you back on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube Live, and our YouTube Live channel is DBT in Schools. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Say goodbye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Make sure to hit that like button.
And then hit, actually stop stream up there. Stop stream.